Good afternoon, dear students. Welcome back to the second live class of biology. In the previous class, we have discussed about the nervous system. Today also we'll be talking more on nervous system. The other class we have discussed on neuron, its structure, its function. So today we will be talking on the types of nervous system. There are mainly two types of nervous system that I've already told you before. Do you still remember what are those two types of nervous system? Do you remember? If you remember, you may write your answers. I'm waiting. The two types of nervous system that I have told you in my previous class. If you remember, you can write. Anyone? You don't seem to remember. Okay, so there are mainly two types of nervous system. That is the central nervous system. The central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system, in short, we write as CNS, and peripheral nervous system, in short, we write as PNS. So today I will be discussing with you only on central nervous system. And in the next class, I will discuss with you the peripheral nervous system, and there will be the end of this chapter, that is in the next class. So today we will be discussing only on the central nervous system. Okay? So if you have your book, you can turn with me to your book, and if you want, you can write the points that I am writing on the board. So what is the central nervous system actually, or what is its function? Its function is, what it actually does is, it collects information. It collects information from where? From the entire body. It collects information from the entire body, and after that, what does it do? It processes all the information, or processes it, and coordinates functions. That means what? The central nervous system will first collect information from the entire body, and after the collecting the information, it will process, or it will work on it, and it will see which information has come from which part of the body, and accordingly it will coordinate the function, or accordingly it will react and perform the functions. So this is the main function or main role of the central nervous system. Now what are the parts of the nervous system? Parts of central nervous system. Parts of central nervous system. Number one is brain, and number two is spinal cord. These two combined forms the central nervous system. The brain and the spinal cord, these two combined will form the central nervous system. Okay, so today we will first be talking on the brain. What is the function of brain, or what is the role of the brain in a body? Number one, it acts as decision maker. Okay, this is the function of brain in our body. That means it is the brain that will decide what kind of work we will do, what kind of activities we will do. It makes the decision in letting us function or in letting us work. So that means it acts as the decision maker. It will make decision for us. And next is, it controls various activities. It controls various activities of our body. And what does it do? How does it control? By sorting out the informations. That means first it will decide what to do, and after it decides, it will control the activities of our body by sorting out which activity should be performed when, at what time, and by which organ of the body. So all this is being decided by the brain, and it controls all the activities of our body. And there is one more thing, that is, it stores information. Stores information. Whatever information is passed, okay, it will store the information, and it will discard whatever is required. It will store what is required, and it will discard. Discard means store information and discard the rest. Whatever is needed will be stored, and whatever is not needed will be discarded, or it will be sent off. It will not be stored, okay? It will be released, it will be discarded, because it is of no use, so it gets discarded. Alright, so these are the main three functions of the brain. It acts as a decision maker. It will decide which part of our body will perform what activities, and in number two, it will control those activities by sorting out which organ will perform what kind of activity. And last one, it will store the information that is being collected by the nerves, and it will store whatever is required and discard whatever is not required. So you may write down the role of the brain if you want to. Giving you time, you may write down. I hope you are done. Are you done? Okay, so now we will see the brain in details. The brain, we will first see its location. Where and how is it located? It is located within the skull. It is located within the skull. The skull is also known as cranium. Skull is also known as cranium. What is skull? If you want to know what is skull, you can touch your head. When you touch your head, you will find this hard cover on your head that is known as the skull. Okay? So our brain is inside the skull, or inside the hard cover of our head. Okay, the hard cover, when you touch your head, you will find the hard cover, that is the skull. So inside the skull is the brain, and this skull is also known as cranium. Next, we will see what are the parts of the brain. Before that, we will see the structure. That means it is covered by a membranous layer. It is covered by a membranous layer, and this membranous layer is called meninges. So this meninges covers, it is a membranous layer. This is the layer that covers the brain, and between these meninges and the brain is a fluid. Fluid means a liquid present, which is called cerebrospinal fluid. cerebrospinal fluid. So the brain is covered by a membranous layer called meninges, and between the meninges and the brain is one fluid, and that fluid is called the cerebrospinal fluid. And what is its function? Its function is it cushions the brain against shocks. It is because of this cerebrospinal fluid that is present between the meninges and the brain that whenever you hit your head somewhere, say you hit your head on the wall, why is it that your brain does not get affected easily? It is because this cerebrospinal fluid is there and it functions as a cushion, and it will protect your brain from getting shock. Otherwise, every time you hit your head, you will be getting shock. But because this fluid is there, it will protect your brain from getting shock, or rather from getting damage. Okay, so this is the location and structure of the brain. Now we will see the parts of the brain. You may write this down. I'm rubbing this. We will see the parts of the brain now. Let me know when you finish. Parts of the brain. It has mainly three parts. The first part is known as the forebrain. The second part is known as the midbrain. Have you finished this? Okay. And the third one is known as the hindbrain. Okay, the three parts of the brain are forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. So let us discuss them one by one. We will first go to forebrain. Forebrain, it again has three parts. The three parts are cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. Okay, the forebrain again has three parts: the cerebrum, the thalamus, and hypothalamus. We will first discuss cerebrum. Cerebrum forms the anterior, it is the largest part of the brain. Now I have a picture of a brain here, you may see here. So this is the brain, this is the cerebral hemisphere. Okay, I will be talking about that. So this is one part of the cerebral hemisphere. This portion that you see from here, this entire thing, it is known as the forebrain. So it forms the largest part of the brain. This portion is known as the forebrain, and this one is known as the midbrain, and this is known as the hindbrain. So this is the front one, and the front one is known as the forebrain, the middle one is known as the midbrain, and the last one is known as the hindbrain. Okay, I'll show this to you again after some times. So now the cerebrum, since the cerebrum is present in the forebrain, so this entire thing is known as the cerebrum because it occupies the maximum space. So we say that it forms the largest part of the forebrain. So it forms the largest part of the forebrain. Okay, so it forms the largest part of the forebrain. Then what happens? This forebrain is divided into two halves. All right. it is divided into two halves, and they are known as the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, or we can call it right cerebral hemisphere. Okay, we will call it right cerebral hemisphere. Right cerebral hemisphere and the left cerebral hemisphere. It is divided into two halves. These two halves we can call it as cerebral hemisphere. So first is known as the right and the other one is known as the left cerebral hemisphere. So this picture of the brain, this is one half of the brain. That means it can be the right one or it can be the left one. They are all similar. So this is one half or one cerebral hemisphere of the brain. You can see the half portion of it. This is the interior portion and this is the outer portion of the brain. This is the outer portion and this is the interior portion. These are halves. The half cerebral hemisphere, half cerebral hemisphere. Outer portion and the inner portion. Okay? And you can see that their shape is like that of a kidney. Do you think that their shape is like that of a kidney? Yes, it looks something similar to that of a kidney. And they are separated from each other by a deep groove. So this one hemisphere, one cerebral hemisphere, and the other is separated from each other by a very deep groove. Okay. Now we will talk about the white matter and the gray matter. White matter and the gray matter. Have you heard of white matter and gray matter? Yes. Now in my previous class I have told you about neurons. So the cell body of the neuron, when the cell body of the neuron comes together, then they give a grayish color, and that is known as the gray matter. Okay, so if the cell body forms the gray matter, which part of the neuron do you think will form the white matter? It is the axon of the neuron. The axon of the neuron will form the white matter. Okay, so the cell body part of the neuron will form the gray matter, and the bundle of axons of the neuron will form the white matter. So it gives a gray color and axon will give the white color, which is why they are given the name gray matter and white matter. So now we will see the function of the cerebrum. Function of cerebrum. Number one, you all know it is in the cerebrum that the center of intelligence is there. That means you get your intelligence from the cerebrum. How intelligent you are or how not intelligent you are, it all comes from the cerebrum. And next, it is also concerned with your learning or memory, etc. Okay, and there is one more thing, it also controls your speech. What does it do? It controls the speech, and controls all the voluntary activities in our body. Controls the voluntary activities of our body. Voluntary activities means the activity which you do willingly or which is under our control. It is known as voluntary. That means you can control the activity. It's like when we tell you not to talk in the class, it's up to you whether you want to talk in the class or not. So even if you talk, that is your choice. Even if you don't talk, that is your choice. So that is known as the voluntary activities. Okay, so this is the functions of the cerebrum. You can write if you want. After this, we will go to thalamus. The second part of the forebrain, that is the thalamus. It is the smallest part of the forebrain. It is the smallest part of the forebrain, and its function is to control the number of sensory functions. So all your sensory organs that functions is controlled by the thalamus. That's all we have about thalamus. It is the smallest part of the forebrain and it controls the number of sensory functions. Next we'll go to hypothalamus. The third part of the forebrain, that is the hypothalamus. It is present just below the thalamus. Present just below the thalamus, and it controls, what is its function? It controls our body temperature. It controls our body temperature, controls our hunger, controls our fear and anger as well. That means when you feel hungry, when you get angry, and when you are fearful, that means it is the hypothalamus at work. Okay, it is the hypothalamus that will control all this. The body temperature also is controlled by hypothalamus. You can write this if you want. After this, we will go to midbrain. So these are the three parts of the forebrain. The three parts of the forebrain are the cerebrum, the thalamus, and the hypothalamus. Now we will go to the midbrain. Midbrain, it is the small region. It is a small region. I have shown you, I will show you again. Here it is the small, this is the small region. It connects with the forebrain and the hindbrain since it is in the middle, and it also connects the spinal cord. Okay, so this is the midbrain. It is a small region and it connects the forebrain and hindbrain. And what is its function? Its function is it controls our eyes. Its function is controls the eye adjustments, controls the eye adjustments that we need to make to see. That means if you want to see straight, you have to control the movement of your eye straight. If you want to look sideways, you have to take your eye to the side. So all this is being controlled and adjusted by the midbrain. That means its main function is to control our eyes because we need to see. Alright, that is all about midbrain. Now we will go to hindbrain. Just like the forebrain, hindbrain is also divided into three parts. Its three parts are cerebellum, pons and medulla oblongata. Cerebellum, pons and medulla oblongata, these are the three parts of the hindbrain. This is the hindbrain, so this actually is the cerebellum. So we will be discussing about these three parts again in details. So this is the hindbrain and this part is known as the cerebellum. So let us see cerebellum first. Where is the cerebellum located? First, cerebellum. Where is it located? It is located behind the cerebrum. You can see, I will show you again. So this is the cerebrum. So it is the cerebellum. It is just behind the cerebrum. This is the cerebrum and this is the cerebellum. Cerebellum is right behind the cerebrum. And what is the function of cerebellum? Controls the balance of our body. It controls the balance of our body. The reason that I'm able to stand and teach you is because of cerebellum, and the reason that you are able to sit or sleep or lie down and watch this class now is also controlled by the cerebellum, because it is balancing our body, and it also controls our muscles, and maintains our posture. That means the position that you are in when you are standing, sitting, lying down, whatever it is, and also helps in movements. So these are the function of the cerebellum. It balances our body, controls our muscles, maintains our body posture, and also helps in our movement. That is all about cerebellum. Now we go to pons. This is not that pons cream or whatever you think, okay? It is a part of the hindbrain. Pons, it is on top of medulla. It is located on top of the medulla oblongata, and it controls the swallowing of food. Controls the swallowing of food. That means its function is to help us swallow our food. And what else does it do? And it also gives us the sense of taste. It is because of the pons that we have in our hindbrain, we are able to taste our food and we know whether it is tasty or not tasty. Pons also controls our sleep, and it also controls our breathing, hearing as well. Okay, so the function of pons is to control the swallowing of our food, and it also gives us the sense of taste, and it controls our sleep, and it helps us in breathing and also in hearing. So these are the functions of pons. You can write this down. Let me know when you finish. Okay, good. So now we will go to the last part of the hindbrain, and that is the medulla oblongata. And one more function of pons is it also helps in the facial expression. When you see somebody and you're happy to see that person, then you smile. When you see somebody you don't want to see, then you make faces. So all that is controlled by pons. Okay, one more function, that is the facial expression. Next is the medulla oblongata. This is the last part of the hindbrain. So where is it located? It lies in front of the cerebellum and is adjacent to the spinal cord. Where does it lie? It lies in front of the cerebellum and is adjacent to the spinal cord. So here is the cerebellum. It lies in front of the cerebellum and adjacent to the spinal cord. That means opposite to the spinal cord and in front of the cerebellum. So here is the medulla oblongata. And the function of medulla oblongata is it controls the involuntary actions. That means the actions that we cannot control. What are the involuntary actions that we cannot control in our body? Involuntary actions such as heartbeat. Can you control your heartbeat? No, we cannot control our heartbeat. And what else? Breathing. You cannot control your breathing as well. And sneezing. When you want to sneeze, even if you are told to keep quiet, you will still sneeze because it is out of our control. Sneezing. And we can also include coughing. There are many other involuntary actions. These are few of the involuntary actions that our medulla oblongata controls. Okay, write this down. We are done with the parts of the brain. After this, we will go to the spinal cord. Let me know when you finish. And the another thing is, here is this is the picture of the brain. So this is known as the brain stem. What forms the brain stem is the three things. That is the midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata. These three combined forms the brainstem. Okay, if you are finished, I will go to spinal cord now. We have done the parts of the brain, various parts of the brain. So now we will go to spinal cord. What is the function of spinal cord? Just like brain, it also relays information to and from the brain. It also relays information or passes information to the brain and from the brain. It passes information to the brain and from the brain, and it will sometimes take quick actions. It will sometimes take quick actions independently. Sometimes takes quick actions independently, and such action is called reflex action, which we will be discussing in our next class in details. Alright, so what is the function of spinal cord? To relay information to and from the brain, and next is it will sometimes take quick action independently without depending on any other organ, and that action that it takes independently is known as the reflex action. So now let us see where is the spinal cord located. Spinal cord, it starts from the hindbrain. It starts from the hindbrain, that is the medulla oblongata, and runs down the entire length of the backbone. So I will show you again. It starts from the hindbrain. This is the hindbrain. So from the medulla oblongata, it starts from here and it goes down the entire length of the backbone. It is connected to the backbone, so it goes down. You may touch back at your back and you will know the backbone. So it goes down there. So that means it starts from the hindbrain. That is which part of the hindbrain? From the medulla oblongata, and it will run down the entire length of your backbone. Now, just like the brain, spinal cord is also covered by meninges, and it also has that cerebrospinal fluid. I will not write that. Just like brain, it is also covered by meninges, and it also has the cerebrospinal fluid. All right, and its function is, I have already told you, it relays information to and from the brain, and sometimes it takes quick actions independently, and that is called the reflex action. So that is all for today. If you have any questions, you may ask me. It is not release, it is relays. If you have any question, you may ask. Any questions? No question? Okay, Elisa is saying no question. Anybody else? No question. Where? Which one? I can't see. What is midbrain? Reflex action. Reflex action, I will be talking about this in the next class. I will not explain to you now because I will come with this topic in the next class. And forebrain means the front part of the brain. I have already shown you here. This is the forebrain. This is the front part of the brain, and it forms the largest part. This is the forebrain, the front part of the brain. And midbrain means this one, the middle part of the brain. And hindbrain means the posterior or the innermost part of the brain. Anything else? Any more questions? No more. Okay, so that is all for today. I'll get back to you in the next class with another topic.